I'm Leigh Timmis and I'm an ultra-endurance cyclist. I hold the world record for the fastest cycle across Europe and I cycled around the world for 7 years. I got into riding a bike around the world from kind of probably the most difficult part of my life. I came out of university and I thought that I kind of fulfilled the criteria, like everything that society expects of you to be successful. I had a first-class degree, had a great job, self-employed filmmaker, and getting loads of work, taking on as many jobs as possible. But I think that at that time, kind of looking back, I probably neglected a lot of the things that were really important and ended up struggling with my mental health. So I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety and went to counselling for quite a while, but didn't have kind of the bravery to look within and to maybe address some of the things that I needed to do for myself. What I did do at that time though was to take a challenge and decided to ride a bike around the world, which was something far bigger. It'd just been a dream to me before that moment, you know? And I think that taking on that challenge gave me a purpose, gave me something to look to every day, to wake up and to have a direction, a target, a motivation, and every day was just filled with this amazing excitement. And so that carried on. Like, it was a journey that lasted for 7 years, and every day was just about progressing and getting somewhere and having that final target. I think that having a target was really important. I think that riding the bike around the world, really, for me, it was a journey of self-discovery. Like, for the first time in my life, I put myself in a situation that I didn't know how to do it. There was nobody there to teach me how it was done, and I had to come up with my own solutions every day. And it started from like the moment that I left the UK. So getting out into a new country and realizing that you don't speak the language, and how are you going to get those basic things that you need, the food, the water, the place to sleep. And my solution was to just knock on the doors of strangers and kind of use these gestures, you know, can I put my tent in your garden? And people invited me in. And I think that was one of the most amazing things, to realize that by sharing my vulnerabilities or by sharing these needs or my journey, other people came on board as well. And even though it seems like a huge like personal endeavor, just independent, to go around the world on your own, it would never have been possible without the people that helped me along the way, these strangers that just came to my help. And in a lot of ways, they nourished this amazing adventure as well. You know, I thought that I was going to be alone in these jungles and mountains and deserts, but actually I was sharing this life with people that I met in farms and in deserts, and being welcomed into homes that turned into parties or weddings or celebrations. And that's really like the amazing thing about the travel around the world, that it opened up all these new opportunities. To achieve these world record performances, it's not just an individual. I think that what you see from the start line to the finish line is just the tip of the iceberg, but actually they're generally like a 12-month project. It's a whole year that goes into it, and it requires a massive team behind the scenes. So on the road, there is the operations crew that comes out and does the work with me, but behind the scenes, there's doctors of physiology, psychology, nutrition, there are mechanics, aerodynamicists, there's testing, and there's a whole year's training program to go in it as well. So in order to bring that together, it takes a lot of coordination and cooperation, which I think, you know, I can go into a lot of detail about how that does fit in with the cadets. A lot of what the cadets learn is core to making these world record attempts happen. Going back to the last world record in 2018, at the beginning, when I put the team together, I thought I would need a coach to make my body stronger, a nutritionist to feed me, and a physiotherapist to make sure the recovery was all right. And at the beginning of that project, I was asked, well, who's the psychologist on the team? I was like, well, who needs, you know, I'm not going to use my brain, I'm riding a bike. But there was a line that was shared with me that I'll remember forever. And I think that it doesn't just apply to breaking a world record, it applies to everything in life, whether you want to be a great cadet or soldier or engineer or dancer or artist, anything you want to do, family, friend, father, whatever. And that was that you could be the fastest cyclist in the world on the start line, but it means nothing unless you've got a mind to get you to the finish line. And I think that that's the same challenge that we all face in every different way. So if you've got a target, you're going to have obstacles that you need to overcome along the way. And it's being aware enough to understand your emotional reaction in those situations and have a plan in place so that when it comes along, you can just attack that and keep going. I think a big difference between going around the world and the world record was when you're going around the world, it's all dynamic assessment. You don't know what's going to happen the next moment, and you need to have a mindset that can adapt and to be able to kind of work your way out of that situation. But with the world record, you must get to the end as quickly as possible, and you need to be prepared. So working with the psychologist, a lot of the groundwork that we put in 2018 for the last world record was around what we called creating an elite athlete's lifestyle. And it was about the foundation that you can build on. So everybody's got their own talents, their own skills, the things that they want to achieve. For me, it was to be a great cyclist. But there's almost no point being that great cyclist unless you've got a foundation where you can make the most of it. And that came down to some really basic things. The first thing was time management. So I was all over the place. Like I'd arrive late for meetings, I wouldn't have the right things with me, I would forget the person I was meant to be with, I wouldn't be in the right place at the right time. And so we just created a diary in one place with reminders and travel time. It even came down to like a traffic light system. So if there was something in the calendar that was red, I had to be in that place at that time with that person. And if it was green, it could be adjusted around the rest of the commitments. The next thing was organization. So if I needed to, for example, go to the gym on Monday morning, I'd have a box next to the front door on Sunday night that had a list of all the things that I needed. And you fill it with those things, you leave it next to the door, so you get up the next morning, you pick up the box and you go. This like got rid of all the problems that I had of Monday morning, there's one shoe that's in the washing machine, there's another one that's out the bag, the clothes are covered in mud. You've just got to be prepared, it's really simple. And the third thing was sleep, which for me was a really difficult one to overcome. You know, when you're rushed and you've got commitments and you're stressed, the last thing that I wanted to do was sleep. I wanted to spend as many hours as possible doing the work, getting things done, ticking the list. But it took a lot of coercion, but in the end, I realized that the more prepared you are, the more rested you are, the better you can perform the next day. And the psychologist at the time told me, you know, what's the point of training every day if you're not recovering? You're just burning yourself out. You need to step back, you need to recover. And it's the same for the mind as well. If you're constantly working, you're just going to be fatigued. If you step back, take that breath, have the rest and come back like with full force the next day, you'll be way better. And that's a massive difference between our kind of innovative scientific approach to these records compared with the guys who would go out previously and say, well, I'll beat that record that was held before because I'll just ride an hour longer every day. And it doesn't work because you see these people starting to fail. They're fatigued by like 90%, 50% of the way into the journey. That increases the chance of accidents, of injury, of all these other problems going on, instead of just resting and performing at your best capacity. I think we've got a really progressive, I guess, like admin team behind the Derbyshire ACF. I think I was brought in to offer that inspiration that's maybe a little bit more connected to the cadets. I think that we have incredible honorary colonels across the UK. There's some incredible people doing this role, and I feel totally honoured to have that as well. I hope that what I do, you know, it's happening now. The cadets can watch what I'm doing in real time. You can see what your honorary colonel is doing on social media, and hopefully you can connect those dots between, you know, we were practicing that in drill on Thursday evening, and there's the same principle playing out on the road. The thing that I've learned so much actually from the cadets in the time that I've been honorary colonel, but the biggest thing for me, I spent a few weeks going around and doing some detachment, just kind of like visiting them and seeing how the detachments work and understanding what the cadets get out of it. And I realised that a lot of the cadets come to the force because they've got family who have done it before. They're inspired by a brother who's in the army, or, this kind of thing. And I started to ask, if you didn't have a family member in the cadets, what would it be that brought you here? What's the biggest thing that you get from it? And everybody from all these different detachments said it's that camaraderie, it's the friendship, it's the way that we're always there for each other. And at this moment in society, after the isolation of COVID, after the pandemic, I feel like community is the most powerful thing that we have. And to see that in the cadets, I went out to the annual camp this year, and to see these young people thriving, creating new friendships, like learning skills from each other, being there, supporting each other. For me, that's the most powerful thing. The skills, the experience, the knowledge that you get is incredible. But I think at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, whether it's a world record or a cadets project or Duke of Edinburgh, it's connection that really makes things happen. It's those humans coming together for a greater good, and that's what I see at the cadets. This year, I'm attempting the world record for the greatest distance cycled in 7 days. So currently that's 2,211 miles, which is about 310, 315 miles a day. So for me, I'm doing 7 days of miles. This is like the challenge that I've set myself. But as part of that, what I wanted to do is open an opportunity for anyone to take on their own challenge. I'm an ambassador for MQ, the UK's leading mental health research charity. And so we got together and came up with this campaign called 7 Days of Smiles. So it's the idea that in the lead up to my record, or when I'm doing it, or afterwards, whenever, it's an opportunity for anyone to take on 7 days of their own challenge. And it doesn't have to be continuous, day after the next. It can be, once a month, do a longer dog walk than you normally would, or set yourself a challenge, do a couch to 5K, whatever it would be. And as part of that, to do your bit for kind of mental health, to raise a bit of awareness, to raise a bit of money. As part of it, we've created some commemorative jerseys that you can buy, and just take your photo in it and post it on the social media channel. So you're kind of lending your support to other people who are doing it. Share your story as well. So this year's theme for mental health awareness is loneliness, which coming out of the pandemic, the isolation, I think it's really important. There's been a massive increase in loneliness, and the awareness of this is really important. So the idea around the social media campaign is to bring people together to do it. It's great to go out and set yourself that challenge, but why not do it with your friends? Why not do it with your family? Why not join a cycling or a walking group and go out and start to share these journeys? Because when we're together, we can do so much more, and you realise that you're not alone in your challenges. So that's the challenge, the charity challenge for this year. You can follow the world record attempt on my website, leightimmis.com, and also across social media, so on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. We're going to be doing daily video content. So I've got a filmmaker out there with me. He's going to be getting all that behind the scenes footage. You can see that. You can see the challenges that I face while I'm out there, and the team working behind the scenes. So follow that on social media, on the website. Send me a message. One of the things that's really important to me is to know that I'm doing something as well. It's really, I think this ties into the whole message actually, that there are times when I'm out there, when I'm riding a bike for 15 hours a day, and you've got a team behind you in a van, but they're not there with you on the bike. It's a very lonely time, and it's easy to lose focus, to forget why you're doing it. You start to wonder, does anyone care? What's the point of this? I could stop and nobody would even notice. And to know that people are behind you, that you're supporting a cause that you believe in, or that people are there for you as well, that really makes a massive difference. So message me, so email me, so follow it, and just see how it unfolds and be part of the journey.